In the broad daylight, the princess's carriage is attacked by a pack of wolves. The guards, realizing the sheer number of wolves surrounding them, understand that this battle will likely lead to their deaths and the princess's demise. The three knights ready themselves to lay down their lives, fighting valiantly against the ferocious beasts. One knight is bitten and falls, leaving only two standing. The situation grows more intense when, suddenly, the notorious black magician emerges from the bushes. Without hesitation, the magician casts a powerful spell, driving the wolves away. He then produces a potion and hands it to the injured knight, who drinks it and is instantly healed, regaining his strength. The princess, watching the wolves flee, feels compelled to step out of the carriage to thank the magician. Though she has never met him before, she knows of his infamous reputation. Her act of gratitude is both kind and bold, prompting the remaining knights to draw their swords as she approaches the magician. Her personal assistant, who has been in the carriage with her, quickly follows and urges the princess to leave, warning her against lingering near someone with such a notorious past. As the princess prepares to return to her carriage, she pauses and asks the magician why he chose to help them. His response is cold and nonchalant. He simply did it to pass the time, not because he knew or cared for them. As the carriage is about to leave, Lobelia Crowley, the dark magician, calls one of the knights and tells them to head west. He says there are knights from the kingdom in the forest who can help protect them on their journey. His voice sounds calm and uninterested, but his advice seems helpful and sincere. Princess Rian, a beautiful young woman, watches him as the carriage moves. She is the same age as Lobelia, but their lives are completely different. Sitting in the carriage, she thinks about what just happened. Her personal assistant stays tense, uneasy about the magician. Everyone knows the bad stories about Lobelia, how he destroys villages, kills people, and uses forbidden magic. To most, he is a dangerous enemy of the kingdom. Rian remembers how Lobelia saved them without asking for anything in return. He did not act like the evil man from the stories. She feels confused, wondering why he helped them. As she thinks about him, she starts to feel a strange admiration, maybe even something deeper. In Arcadia Fantasy, a popular game, Lobelia Crowley is known as a villain. But many players begin to understand his story and feel sorry for him. Lobelia was once a kind boy with a happy family. He lived in a small village near the border of the human kingdom. Everything changed when a war broke out between humans and demons. Even though the two sides hated each other, Lobelia once helped an injured demon, surprising the creature with his kindness. When the war started again, humans destroyed villages near the border, including Lobelia's. His family was killed, and he was captured and sold as a slave. This made him hate both humans and demons. As a slave, he suffered greatly, and his anger grew stronger every day. One day, he escaped and met Mr. Crowley, a nobleman from the kingdom. Mr. Crowley and his wife, who couldn't have children, adopted Lobelia and made him their son. Lobelia Crowley is adopted by a noble family after being orphaned. His new parents send him to the kingdom's elite school, where he quickly proves himself as the top student in his class. Despite his academic success, Lobelia constantly causes trouble, both at school and at home, frustrating his adoptive parents. His mischievous behavior overshadows his achievements, and although he finishes school as the top student, his adoptive father is unimpressed. When Lobelia brings home the top student award, his father scolds him harshly and disowns him, claiming his behavior will ruin his future. Once again denied love and acceptance, Lobelia feels betrayed. His heart hardens, and he turns to dark magic as an outlet for his pain. He decides to take revenge on anyone who has hurt him, channeling his anger into acts of destruction. Over time, he becomes infamous, feared for his growing list of crimes and his mastery of forbidden magic. In the popular game Arcadia Fantasy, Lobelia Crowley's tragic story resonates deeply with players. Despite being the game's main villain, many players sympathize with his struggles and even prefer him over the hero, Reinhard. Evidence of this comes from Lobelia's name trending more frequently on gaming websites than Reinhard's. Though Lobelia and Reinhard clash multiple times in the game, with Reinhard and his knights consistently prevailing, the final battle sees the death of both the Demon King and Lobelia. Lobelia's tragic end and the revelation of his backstory at the conclusion of the game leave players feeling pity and admiration for his character. One such player is Sito Arima, a 22-year-old avid fan of Arcadia Fantasy. Sito loves Lobelia's complex story and even relates to him on some level. Just as Sito is nearing his 23rd birthday, he unexpectedly finds himself reincarnated as Lobelia Crowley. Now living as the infamous dark magician in the world of Arcadia Fantasy, Sito realizes he is inhabiting the body of the most hated man in the human kingdom, a character doomed to die a tragic death. Sito Arima, now living as Lobelia Crowley, assures himself that if he must bear the title of villain, he will turn it into something meaningful. Determined to rewrite Lobelia's story, he vows to change the reputation that the people of the human kingdom have of him. Instead of being remembered as a feared and hated dark magician, he wants to ensure they know his name for the good he can do. As he adjusts to his new life, SAIKYOU is relieved to discover the immense potential Lobelia already possesses. Years of practice in both good and dark magic have made him one of the most skilled magicians in the kingdom. Though his reputation is tarnished, SAIKYOU realizes that few in the entire kingdom can match his magical abilities. If not making him the best, then certainly one of the strongest. SAIKYOU quickly realizes that his reputation is far worse than he anticipated. Whenever he enters an inn or a public space, he notices the reactions of the people around him. Some look at him with despair, others with outright fear, and many with pure hatred, as though they would kill him on the spot if they could. Yet, despite these hostile looks, Lobelia feels a small relief that no one has dared to gang up against him or forcibly throw him out of any establishment so far. These encounters weigh heavily on him, and he spends days and nights thinking about how he might change the people's perception of him, even if only slightly. SAIKYOU, now living as Lobelia, recalls a significant event in Arcadia fantasy. In the game, players could defeat the tyrannical dragon King Burrow, who ruled over Kansan City and oppressed its people. Lobelia decides this might be his chance. If he can slay Burrow, he hopes it might soften the people's hatred toward him, even if just a little. While deep in thought at an inn, a male commoner approaches him and asks for help. Lobelia immediately refuses, his instincts warning him to be cautious. However, the man recognizes him as the infamous Lobelia Crowley and decides to try his luck, thinking he could earn a reward by capturing the notorious magician. When the man attacks, Lobelia is forced to use magic to defend himself, defeating the attacker with ease. The incident leaves the patrons of the inn terrified, and the atmosphere grows tense. Feeling the weight of their stares and whispers, Lobelia decides to leave, searching for another place to eat. As he steps outside, a knight who witnessed the commotion stops him. The knight accuses him of harassing the commoner, his tone sharp and suspicious. The knight, Claudia, is a well-known character in the game, notorious for her deep hatred of Lobelia. When she appears right after the mess he caused at the inn, Lobelia immediately suspects she has been following him. Claudia accuses him of causing trouble and questions his intentions, implying he must have been scheming something. Lobelia, however, firmly defends himself, stating that he was the victim in the fight. He recounts how the man approached him first when all he wanted was a meal, only for Claudia to now accuse him despite her being present during the entire incident. Claudia is taken aback by Lobelia's sharp response. It seems as if he had anticipated her arrival and prepared his argument in advance. Recognizing the truth in his words, she releases her grip on his clothes and dismisses the confrontation, saying she is not in the mood to argue further. She leaves him, clearly irritated. As Claudia walks away, Lobelia feels a rare sense of satisfaction. He managed to resolve the situation with words rather than magic or violence, an unusual accomplishment for him. Yet, a small part of him wonders if his words may have stung Claudia more than he intended. The next day, fate brings them together again, this time aboard public transport heading to Kansan City. Claudia is surprised to see Lobelia and immediately questions his presence, knowing that this route is typically used by merchants, officials, or those with connections to the Dragon King. Suspicious of his intentions, she cannot resist asking why he is on the transport. Lobelia, deciding there is no need to hide his plans, candidly tells her that he is going to defeat the Dragon King. Claudia is shocked by his answer, having assumed he might be traveling to Kansan City to form an alliance with the Dragon King. After all, both Lobelia and the Dragon King share a reputation for cruelty and misdeeds. Claudia has a hard time believing that Lobelia really wants to defeat the Dragon King. She is shocked by his words and gets upset, but Lobelia stays calm and confident. Just then, the carriage stops because a large rock is blocking the road. The driver tells them they need to walk the rest of the way. They both get off the carriage and start walking, not really talking to each other. It's clear that they are each focused on their own goals. When they reach the big rock, Claudia expects Lobelia to use magic to move it, but instead, he just climbs over it like anyone else would. She is surprised and a little confused, but she follows him and climbs over the rock too. As they walk along a narrow cliff path, Claudia keeps wondering why Lobelia is going to defeat the Dragon King. He doesn't explain much, just saying that he wants to test his strength. The path becomes dangerous, and Claudia slips near the edge of the cliff. Lobelia quickly grabs her hand and pulls her to safety, stopping her from falling. She gets a bruise on her leg, but Lobelia helps her to a safe spot nearby. They decide to make camp for the night. Lobelia gathers firewood and makes sure they stay warm. Claudia uses a potion to heal her leg and tells herself that she will be okay by morning. As Lobelia continues to show kindness, Claudia begins to feel confused. She had only ever heard of Lobelia's dark reputation, and his actions tonight seemed to contradict everything she knew about him. She wonders if the person she had heard so much about is really the same person showing such care. This kindness makes her question everything she thought she knew about him. Later in the evening, Lobelia asks her why she wants to defeat the Dragon King. Claudia answers that she is trying to repay a debt in her life, and that it is something connected to the palace, so she doesn't feel comfortable sharing more. Lobelia listens, respecting her decision not to reveal the details. He tells her that since they both have their own missions and won't interfere with each other, there is no need for concern. By the time he finishes speaking, he notices that Claudia has already fallen asleep. The morning comes, and as they continue their journey, a heavy silence falls between them. They haven't spoken much since yesterday, each lost in their own thoughts. Lobelia leads the way, walking confidently with determination in his step, while Claudia stays a few paces behind, carefully watching their surroundings. Both of them remain vigilant, constantly aware of the dangers that might lurk ahead, preparing themselves for any potential attacks. The silence between them speaks volumes, as neither feels the need to fill the quiet. They both know the importance of staying alert. After what feels like a long and tense journey, they finally reach the border of Kansas City. The scene before them is nothing like they expected. Rather than the bustling, lively city they had imagined, they see only emptiness and neglect. The place is overrun with weeds, evidence that it hasn't been maintained or cared for in a long time. The once proud stronghold, once home to the heroes and knights, is now abandoned, and the only signs of life are the eagles flying overhead. It feels as though time has stopped here, and the once legendary city has been forgotten. As they walk deeper into the border, the reality of Kansas City's state becomes even clearer. They hear the sounds of people screaming and see flames rising in the distance. The servant of the Dragon King, with his terrifying power, is carrying out the king's cruel tradition of burning people alive. This horrific act has been carried out for years as part of an annual sacrifice, a ritual demanded by the Dragon King. The citizens of the city have grown increasingly fearful as the king's servants forcefully take people from their families, offering them as sacrifices to satisfy the king's dark demands. Claudia, ever cautious, knows that they must be careful not to fall into the grasp of the king's servants. She suggests that they keep a low profile, hiding when necessary, to avoid detection. She is aware that if they are caught, there may be no escape. Lobelia, on the other hand, is confident in his abilities. He believes that even if they are trapped, he will be able to defeat the king's servants with ease. His arrogance shows in the way he walks, determined and unfazed, ready to face anything that comes his way. Despite Lobelia's confidence, Claudia knows that this mission is not something to be taken lightly. She manages to persuade him to be more careful, advising him to hide when necessary, even though he initially resists. He doesn't want to listen to her advice at first, but eventually he gives in. They find a hidden spot where they can observe the situation without being seen. From their vantage point, they spot the servants of the Dragon King. They can easily distinguish them from regular humans because of the small horns on their heads and their sharp teeth. These marks make them instantly recognizable, even from a distance. They see a group of the Dragon King's servants surrounding a woman, preparing to kill her. The woman's crime is that she helped her daughter escape, defying the king's tradition of sacrificing a family member once a year. Now, she is to pay the price with her life. The woman pleads for mercy, but the servants are relentless, their eyes cold and emotionless. Claudia, who had been telling Lobelia that it was safer to wait until dawn to enter the city, feels her resolve crumble when she recognizes the woman in danger. She had hoped to stay out of any conflict, believing that a quiet approach would be their best strategy. But the moment she sees the woman, a familiar face she knows all too well, everything changes. Her concern for the woman overrides all of her previous plans, and she runs toward the guards without hesitation, her determination burning hot. Lobelia watches, astonished, as Claudia rushes into the fray. In an instant, she takes out two of the guards, her movements swift and precise. But the third guard, much larger and stronger, stands his ground, prepared to fight. Claudia calls out to the woman, shouting her name, and they embrace each other tightly once they are reunited. The emotion in their brief moment of relief is clear, but Claudia doesn't waste any time. She tells the woman to stay back as she prepares to deal with the remaining guard. Lobelia, watching from the shadows, begins to sense that Claudia is struggling against the larger guard. Her strength and skills are not enough to defeat him, and the situation grows increasingly dire. Realizing that Claudia is in danger, Lobelia can no longer stay hidden. With a sudden resolve, he steps out from behind the cover and rushes toward the battle. Without a word, he delivers a single, powerful blow to the guard, bringing him down instantly. The fight ends in an instant, and the remaining danger fades away. Claudia, surprised by Lobelia's sudden intervention, turns to him with a mix of frustration and gratitude. She had wanted to handle the situation herself, believing it to be her fight. She had been willing to risk everything to take down the guard and continue her mission. But Lobelia makes it clear that he won't just stand by and watch her put herself in danger. He tells her firmly that he won't allow her to go on a suicide mission, especially with the way she's fighting. He can see that, with her current skills, she's not ready to face the Dragon King. Claudia, still shaken from the close call, doesn't argue. She can see the truth in Lobelia's words. Her mission to defeat the Dragon King was clouded by her desperation for revenge, and she knows that she needs more than just determination to succeed. Meanwhile, back in the Dragon King's palace, word of the recent events reaches the king's ears. His servants have failed in their duty, and some of his most trusted men have been killed. The Dragon King is furious. He cannot allow such disturbances to go unchecked. He believes that the people of his kingdom would never dare to defy him, so he assumes that outsiders are responsible. In response, he orders his most trusted servant to gather a group of his men and track down those responsible for the killings. They must be found, captured, and brought before the king for punishment. A few moments later, the new servant of the Dragon King rushed into the palace, out of breath and looking worried. He quickly told the king that the trouble had come closer. Claudia and Lobelia had entered the city and were making their way to the palace, killing the king's guards as they went. They were getting closer, and the servant was afraid they would reach the palace soon. The Dragon King, sitting calmly on his throne, listened carefully. He wasn't surprised but was angry that the servant hadn't acted quickly enough to stop them. He said the servant had always been his most trusted man, helping him even before his clan was destroyed, but this time he had failed. The king's voice was cold as he scolded the servant for not dealing with Claudia and Lobelia sooner. The servant, feeling ashamed, explained that things happened faster than he expected. He didn't realize how quickly they would get to the palace. His apology was sincere, but the king wasn't pleased with the answer. Before they could say more, the doors to the throne room suddenly crashed open. Claudia, with her sword in hand, walked in, followed by Lobelia. They had broken the door down with just one strike. The Dragon King didn't move, sitting calmly in his throne as if he had been expecting them. He spoke in a calm voice, saying that he had known they would come for him. However, he also told them that breaking the door was disrespectful. He believed that even enemies should show some respect when entering his domain. He stands up, introducing himself to them as if they don't already know who he is. He announces that since they've just killed one of his best subordinates, he'd be happy to accept their offer, especially if they're willing to make him their servant. This, he thinks, will allow him to overlook what they've done to his servants. However, the person he's speaking to immediately rejects his offer, saying they're here to kill him. This catches the Dragon King off guard. He raises an eyebrow and asks why they want to kill him. Is it because they want to take his place as king? He suggests this with a smirk, thinking it's a joke. But then Lobelia shouts at him, clearly upset. She tells him they've come to free the people of Kansa from his cruel rule. The Dragon King laughs at this, confidently stating that he is the dragon, the most powerful being around. He starts to explain his immense power and might, hoping they'll be scared and change their minds. However, he quickly realizes that they are not intimidated. They have come with a serious purpose and are determined to fight. Without further discussion, the battle between the strong men begins. After fighting for some time, Claudia realizes that she cannot be left behind. Determined to help, she tries to strike the Dragon King with her sword. However, he is so powerful that her sword cannot penetrate his body. In retaliation, he prepares to deliver a crushing blow to her. But just as he is about to strike, Lobelia notices what is happening. She quickly uses her wind magic to sweep Claudia away, allowing her to avoid the attack. Unfortunately, Claudia hits her head against the wall and passes out from the impact. Meanwhile, the men continue their fierce battle, exchanging powerful blows. After a while, Lobelia finally manages to land a hit on the Dragon King, causing him to stumble. It seems like the fight might be nearing its end. He turns to walk toward Claudia to help her up, relieved that she is safe. Suddenly, he notices the Dragon King transforming into a full dragon. This catches him by surprise. He realizes that the Dragon King has two forms, one as a human and the other as a powerful dragon, just like in the game they had played. Lobelia looks back and sees that he now has to face a full-grown dragon. He quickly places a barrier around Claudia, who is still unconscious. The Dragon King remarks that no one has forced him to transform into his dragon form in the last 500 years. While he praises Lobelia's abilities, he adds that it's a shame this will be the end of their battle, claiming he will feast on Lobelia's flesh. Lobelia retorts, saying that his size will only make it easier for him to lose. The fight between them intensifies. The enraged dragon unleashes its full strength, attacking Lobelia with its sharp claws and ferocious teeth, attempting to bite and slash at him. But Lobelia is swift and nimble, dodging each strike with grace. Whenever he finds an opening, he casts spells in retaliation. Unfortunately, his magic has little effect, causing only minor damage to the massive creature. Meanwhile, Claudia slowly begins to regain consciousness. As she opens her eyes, a flood of memories rushes through her mind. She recalls her family and their life in Kansas City. Claudia has an older sister named Monesi, whom she loves dearly. Since childhood, Claudia has dreamed of becoming a knight. Her parents support her dream, allowing her to practice her swordsmanship and combat skills every day, encouraging her to be strong and courageous. Kansas City is known for its wealth and happiness. The people there live good lives and take care of each other. But everything changes one terrible day when the Dragon King attacks the city. He swoops down from the sky, breathing fire and causing chaos. The dragon captures the entire city, demanding that female children be sacrificed to him as offerings. This fills everyone in the city with hopelessness and fear. Many families lose their daughters to the cruel Dragon King, and over time, those who try to retaliate or resist his orders are killed along with their families by his servants. When the people of Kansas City decide that Claudia's older sister, Monesi, will be the next sacrifice to the Dragon King, their parents are filled with fear. They know Monesi won't be the last. Soon, it will be Claudia's turn. To protect their daughters, Claudia's parents make a difficult decision. They secretly create an escape route in their house, hoping to help Claudia escape the dragon's grasp. This means Claudia will have to leave her parents behind, a choice that weighs heavily on her heart. Now, back in the present, Claudia slowly opens her eyes and looks around. She feels trapped and confused. Lobelia, the dark magician, has placed a magical barrier around her, and she realizes she cannot escape from it. Panic begins to rise within her, but she quickly takes a deep breath and gathers her thoughts, understanding that they must work together against the Dragon King. As the fierce battle continues outside, Claudia recalls something important about the Dragon clan. In their prime, dragons possess a special ability. They can regain their strength and heal their wounds whenever they fight. This power gives them a huge advantage over their opponents. Knowing exactly what to do next, Claudia and Lobelia separate, each engaging the Dragon King in different ways. As the dragon becomes distracted by his battle with Lobelia, Claudia seizes the opportunity. Gathering all her strength, she flies as high as possible, aiming her sword at the center of the dragon's head, where it would be difficult for the creature to reach. Claudia quickly signals for Lobelia to cast a spell on the dragon, knowing that healing from the strike would take a long time. Lobelia responds by unleashing a powerful spell, which manifests as an open gate, with chains emerging to drag the dragon inside. Despite the dragon's efforts to break free, the moment it is pulled inside, the gate vanishes into thin air. Claudia is astonished by the spell's power to contain such a massive beast and asks Lobelia where the gate had taken the dragon. He explains that while he knows the magic, he does not know where the gate leads. The villagers, seeing that the Dragon King has been defeated, express their immense gratitude toward Claudia. However, they harbor fear toward Lobelia, thinking he might want to seize control of the country after his help. In their fear, they begin to hurl insults at him. Unable to tolerate the villagers' treatment of Lobelia, Claudia speaks out, stating that she would not have been able to defeat the dragon without his assistance and urges them to be grateful rather than abuse him. Lobelia, for his part, tells the crowd that he acted for his own reasons, which he will not reveal, and that he has no intention of exploiting them the way the Dragon King had. As Lobelia prepares to leave Kansas City, the people gradually come to a consensus, offering him a farewell. At the hero headquarters, news of the Dragon King's defeat by Claudia and Lobelia reaches Reinhardt. Across the kingdom, the people begin to speak more positively about Lobelia. Even the princess, who had only encountered him once, feels displeased to hear of his recent commendable actions. He is alone again, planning to enter a new country. He thinks that if he builds his reputation there, it will be easier for him to change how people view him. To his surprise, even in this new country, starting conversations and making friends proves difficult. His reputation, it seems, has preceded him. Despite this, he remains relentless in trying to help anyone willing to accept his assistance and not treat him as a bad person. Eventually, he meets Rydia, the daughter of a high-ranking member of the beast folk. She is in cat form, indicated by her ears and curled tail. She is cold and hungry, having run away due to her father's harsh behavior. He offers her food, and she is so happy that she begins to follow him wherever he goes. Her father, Raziel, is a stern leader, and Rydia has gained a reputation as a self-centered person. However, since being elected as one of the leaders, she has waged a relentless war against humans. Lobelia thinks to himself that since he is just trying to build a good reputation to cover his old, bad one, people might think he is planning something nefarious against humans if they see him with her. Despite this, she insists on staying with him, even though he suggests it is a bit strange to follow someone she just met. She seems to have made up her mind, telling him that she is offering her companionship in return for the help he gave her, feeding her when everyone else seemed to avoid her because she is beast folk. After walking for a few moments, Rydia develops a fever, and Lobelia has to help her recover. He carries her as sunset approaches, makes a fire, covers her with a blanket, and cooks a meal to offer her once she wakes up. To his surprise, she awakens to the aroma of the food, and he offers her a portion. After eating, she finally opens up about the reason for her escape from the beast folk kingdom. She explains that becoming a leader means one is forbidden to leave the kingdom, and she wanted to see a very close friend before that happened. Her friend's name is Rachel, and she is studying magic at a place called Noah. Before Lobelia can ask more questions, he agrees to follow her to where her friend is. However, he asks if anyone is currently looking for her or trying to catch her. She mentions that 2 heroic guards, a male and a female, have been tracking her all this time. She reassures Lobelia that they will find a way to deal with them. As night falls, they encounter the guards, instead of the other way around. After a brief fight, they finally reach an understanding. The guards question why Lobelia, known for his notorious reputation, would be associated with a beast folk, especially one who has escaped from home. Lobelia explains what Rydia has told him, but the guards dismiss it as a lie, suggesting that she is merely fooling him. Just then, Rydia appears, ready to confront the guards. As the male guard continues speaking to Lobelia, Rydia swiftly swoops in, delivering a powerful kick that sends him crashing to the ground, rendering him unconscious. She turns her attention to Lobelia, her actions speaking louder than words. Lobelia, trying to ease the tension, steps forward to manage the situation, but Rydia remains unmoved, convinced the male guard had earned his fate. The female guard, enraged by the attack, attempts to strike Rydia. However, Rydia, with her cat-like agility, skillfully evades the strike, moving swiftly from tree to tree. Despite her quick movements, she remains unwilling to acknowledge any wrongdoing. Seeing the confrontation dragging on, and knowing they had no time to waste, Lobelia intervenes, casting a spell to restrain the female guard, preventing her from pursuing Rydia. He swiftly lifts Rydia onto his shoulder, preparing to escape. The female guard, Zotsia, however, refuses to relent and continues to chase them with relentless speed. Lobelia uses all his strength and magic to try to slow her down, but she presses on. Just as it seems they will be caught, an unknown figure appears, striking Zotsia with a powerful magical blow that temporarily halts her pursuit. Lobelia glances back and notices the male guard, whom Rydia had knocked out, regaining consciousness and approaching them. The guard explains that, after speaking with Rydia, he now believes her story about wanting to see her friend. He assures Lobelia that they are safe to continue their journey, as he has incapacitated the female guard. The urgency is clear. She will likely wake soon and could pose a threat to Rydia. With the situation resolved for the moment, Lobelia and Rydia resume their journey. Rydia, feeling guilty, apologizes repeatedly for the trouble her actions have caused, explaining that they were driven by pure instinct. After some time, they reach the Hill of Flowers, a serene and beautiful area where Rydia's friend, Rachel, is studying magic. As they approach, Rydia spots Rachel, and the two friends embrace with overwhelming joy at their reunion. Rachel's father emerges from their home, his face lighting up when he sees Rydia. The three of them share a heartfelt embrace. However, when Rachel notices Lobelia, she asks about his identity. Before he can speak, Lobelia quickly responds that he isn't ready to share his name yet. Rachel and her father welcome both Rydia and Lobelia into their home, offering them a meal filled with inviting aromas. As they prepare to enter, Rachel, noticing Lobelia's distinctive mage attire, comments that he seems to be a mage. She eagerly asks if he can perform any magic or tricks before they go inside. Her father, equally intrigued, encourages Lobelia to entertain them. Lobelia agrees and chooses to demonstrate a simple yet captivating spell. He opens a magical book that only he can access, casting a spell that causes the air around them to shimmer and glow. Noticing the reactions of those around him, Lobelia explains that his magical book can only be opened by those he chooses, a sign of his skill and level of advancement as a mage. This piques the master's curiosity, and he expresses a desire to have a magical book of his own one day, recognizing its potential for enhancing his abilities. Once inside the house, they continue enjoying the meal, with Rachel and her father eagerly asking Lobelia about his magic and adventures. The conversation flows freely, with Lobelia answering their questions, offering glimpses into his past and magical prowess. After the meal, Rydia presents a thoughtful gift to her master, a potion crafted to help him heal and regain strength. She had learned from Rachel about his recent struggles with stamina while practicing magic, and her gesture is both practical and meaningful. Without hesitation, the master drinks the potion, and almost immediately, a surge of renewed vitality sweeps through him. He expresses his gratitude to Rydia for her kindness. As Lobelia observes this side of Rydia, he feels a mix of admiration and surprise. Her journey had not only been to reunite with Rachel but also to bring a thoughtful gift for her master. It highlights a caring side of her that Lobelia hadn't fully appreciated before. When the meal concludes, Lobelia taps Rydia gently, signaling that it's time for them to continue their journey. Rachel and her father, surprised by the sudden decision, urge them to rest a while longer, considering the fatigue from their travels. However, Lobelia explains that they are being pursued by 2 knights, and staying longer could attract unwanted trouble. As they prepare to leave, Rachel's father returns from inside the house with a gift for them, a beautiful ring. Upon seeing it, Rydia exclaims in surprise, jokingly asking if it means they are getting married. The unexpected declaration catches everyone off guard, leaving Rachel and her father momentarily speechless. The master chuckles, clarifying that it is not an engagement ring but a magical item in the form of a ring. This revelation adds a layer of intrigue to the moment, yet Rachel can't linger on the subject of Rydia's playful comment, knowing they must part ways soon. At first, Rydia hesitates to accept the ring, unsure if she should accept such a significant gift. However, after much persuasion from the master, she finally relents, feeling touched by the gesture. They exchange heartfelt farewells, with Rachel's father reminding them to keep each other in mind during their travels. Lobelia and Rydia wish them the best of luck with their magic practice and assure them that they will remember Rachel, hoping she won't feel lonely in their absence. They walk. Rydia keeps looking at the ring, which shines in the sunlight. She has already put it on her finger, wondering if it's a magic ring or just an engagement ring. Lobelia hears her thoughts and thinks to himself that she doesn't even know the difference between a magic ring and a regular one. With Rydia by his side, the journey feels more lively. Lobelia can't help but feel that having her with him makes the trip much more enjoyable. When he's alone, the weight of his past feels heavy, but with Rydia around, the journey feels easier. But soon, Lobelia feels guilty. He knows it's time to tell Rydia the truth about himself. He calls her name, feeling nervous but determined. He takes a deep breath and prepares to tell her his real name, Lobelia Crowley. When Rydia hears his name, she remembers the stories she's heard about Lobelia Crowley, a magician known for being cruel. She never expected him to be kind. As they continue walking, Rydia's guards finally show up, swords in hand. They demand she leave Lobelia and return with them, saying that being with a dark magician is too dangerous. Lobelia, determined to protect Rydia, urges her to trust him, promising to escort her safely back to her kingdom. He thinks their conversation is coming to an end, but Rydia hesitates, and her guards insist she follow them immediately. Before Lobelia can react, the heroic knights appear, claiming they sense dark magic surrounding him. In an instant, they overpower him, pinning him down and binding his hands. Rydia shouts in protest as the guards drag her away, ignoring her pleas. They insist that dark magic is a serious threat to their kingdom and refuse to listen to her. Before Lobelia can explain that the dark magic isn't coming from him, he is thrust into the depths of the underground prison, the most secure facility in the realm. In the dim light of the prison, Lobelia feels a mix of surprise and warmth when Princess Lin enters. She is someone from his past, someone he helped during a dangerous encounter with wolves when she was traveling with her personal guards. Her presence brings a glimmer of hope in the grim surroundings. Lin expresses her gratitude, remembering Lobelia's bravery and kindness. She decides to speak with the heroic knights, especially Reinhard, in the hope of finding a peaceful resolution. Despite Lobelia's insistence that she shouldn't interfere, Lin is determined to repay the debt she feels toward him. Their conversation deepens with unspoken emotions, reminding Lobelia of the bond they share. However, their moment is interrupted when a guard notices the princess's presence. He demands to know why she is there, and as she is escorted away, Lin feels a surge of emotions for Lobelia, a connection she can't express. Later, Princess Lin stands beside Reinhard, head of the heroic guards. She passionately pleads for Lobelia's cause, arguing that Reinhard's assumptions about Lobelia are unfounded. She believes he is not the villain they think he is. Reinhard, however, stands firm in his conviction, insisting that Lobelia is responsible for the dark magic affecting his friends, Zordia and Jake, the 2 knights who had pursued Rydia and Lobelia. Despite Lin's efforts to remind Reinhard of Lobelia's past bravery, particularly the time he had saved her from a wolf attack, Reinhard remained unmoved. He felt that his loyalty to his injured friends, Zordia and Jake, took precedence over Lin's recollections of Lobelia's heroics. The tension between the two mounted, with Reinhard's determination to seek justice for his friends overshadowing Lin's arguments. Resolutely, Reinhard left Lin's side and approached the guards overseeing Lobelia's imprisonment. He ordered them to release Lobelia from his bindings, intent on confronting him directly. Without hesitation, he strode into Lobelia's cell and demanded that he fight, declaring it a test to determine the truth of their characters, the good and the bad. Lobelia tried to de-escalate the situation, suggesting they talk things over before resorting to violence. But Reinhard was incensed by the idea, declaring that he had no interest in a conversation with someone like Lobelia. The tension in the air was thick and electrifying, and before Lobelia could respond, Reinhard lunged forward, drawing his sword in one swift motion. Realizing the immediate danger, Lobelia responded in kind. He conjures an invisible book, channeling his magic, to create a defensive barrier. As Reinhard charged at him, Lobelia unleashed a wave of arcane energy, creating a shimmering shield that absorbs the force of the knight's strike. The guards surrounding the makeshift arena watches with rapt attention, forming a tight circle as the two figures clashed. Reinhard swings his sword at Lobelia with all his might, but Lobelia skillfully dodges the blow, using a magical spell that makes him move like a wave, flowing smoothly out of the way. He tries to reason with Reinhard, asking him to lower his sword and suggesting that someone with Reinhard's skills shouldn't resort to fighting like this. However, Reinhard stubbornly refuses to back down, shouting that he won't stop. Seizing the moment, Lobelia quickly casts a spell that binds Reinhard with magical chains, temporarily holding him in place. He uses the opportunity to explain that he hasn't harmed Jake or Zordia. Instead, he insists that Zordia has lost control, and Jake has only tried to stop her to prevent further damage. Reinhard, however, refuses to believe him, dismissing Lobelia's words as convenient excuses. He challenges Lobelia's story, claiming it's too easy to believe. Lobelia urges Reinhard to ask Jake and Zordia what really happened, but Reinhard coldly replies that they may not even wake up to tell the truth, given the dark magic Lobelia supposedly used. Accusing Lobelia of trying to escape the consequences of his actions, Reinhard manages to cut through the magical chains with his holy sword, realizing that its power can break any spell. Shouting in defiance, Reinhard charges at Lobelia, swinging his sword fiercely. Lobelia dodges the attacks, trying once more to reason with Reinhard, asking why he can't believe in justice or trust him. But with every attempt, Lobelia's frustration grows. He shouts, questioning if Reinhard's refusal to seek the truth is because of his identity. In a surge of anger, Lobelia declares that he will prove his strength. He summons a dark magic circle around Reinhard, draining his energy from head to toe. With the advantage, Lobelia unleashes a powerful punch, enhanced by magic, sending Reinhard crashing through a nearby wall. The guards witnessing the scene are horrified, accusing Lobelia of injuring their leader. Lobelia looks at them in disbelief, shouting that they all saw Reinhard strike first and demand the fight. He points out that, despite his attempts to avoid combat, they are blaming him for everything. Anger wells up inside him as he realizes how absurd the situation has become. Just then, Reinhard staggers back into the fight, refusing to back down. He insists that this battle is between him and Lobelia and that no one can interfere. Lobelia is taken aback, wondering why Reinhard still wants to fight when they could wait for the truth to come out. Reinhard responds fiercely, declaring that if he can't defeat Lobelia, he won't be able to protect his friends. As the fight rages on, Reinhard's companions cheer him on, shouting their support. Lobelia feels the weight of the situation pressing down on him, knowing this conflict will only escalate. Reinhard accuses Lobelia not only of hurting his friend, but also of kidnapping Princess Rydia. Lobelia explains that he only escorted Rydia to the forest to visit her friend, but Reinhard dismisses it as another lie. Frustrated, Lobelia shouts back, saying that Reinhard has already judged too many people without hearing their side of the story. He challenges Reinhard's idea of what it means to be a great leader. As Lobelia lands a quick punch to Reinhard's face, he declares that being a hero doesn't give Reinhard the right to label him as evil just because of his past. Lobelia then expresses his desire to live a peaceful life, to be recognized for who he truly is, not for the mistakes or the name from his past. As Lobelia lands the punch on Reinhard, he falls to the ground. Overcome with rage and desperation, Lobelia climbs on top of him, delivering blow after blow while shouting, "Is it my fault?" Memories of being rejected flood back, his father, mother, and family all turning their backs on him because of his past. With each punch, the weight of his loneliness and hurt rises, fueling his anger. But then, he feels a sudden weakness. Trying to turn around, he realizes he can't move properly. Looking down, he sees Reinhard's hand gripping a sword that had been thrust into him. With a swift motion, Reinhard pulls the blade back, and Lobelia gasps in pain. Tears well up in Lobelia's eyes as he realizes the gravity of his situation. Despite his anger, he is now vulnerable, his body weakened by the wound. Before he can react further, Princess Lin, Claudia, and several others rush in to separate them. They stand between the two men, each of them panting heavily, nursing their own injuries. Lobelia and Reinhard face each other, battered and bruised. Lobelia's face is swollen, and he feels warm blood trickling down his side where the sword pierced him. They both take a moment to catch their breath. The group surrounding them includes Princess Lin, Claudia, and the night guards who had previously aimed to kill the king dragon. They position Lobelia against Princess Lin's back, creating a protective barrier as they face Reinhard. They urge him to lower his sword and end the fight, but Reinhard, consumed by anger, refuses to back down. He insists he needs to avenge his friends, Zordia and Jake. Reinhard clings to his desire for revenge. The guards express their concern, reminding him that he's not usually this aggressive. They admit their failure to gather proper evidence before jumping to conclusions about Lobelia's involvement. But Reinhard remains convinced, attributing his suspicion to Lobelia being a magician. The guards challenge Reinhard's assumptions, emphasizing the lack of proof against Lobelia. Princess Lin steps in, revealing that she had spoken with Zordia and Jake after they regained consciousness. They informed her that Zordia had gone berserk, and Jake had tried to intervene, which led to their injuries. Princess Lin, Claudia, and the night guards surround Lobelia, with Lin holding him against her back. They plead with Reinhard to put down his sword and end the fight. Despite their intervention, Reinhard's anger is palpable. He is fixated on avenging his friends, Zordia and Jake, who have been injured. The guards attempt to reason with Reinhard, reminding him that he is not typically this aggressive and that they all share the blame for not investigating the situation properly. They argue that he is making assumptions about Lobelia simply because he is a magician. The knights urge him to reconsider his stance and not judge Lobelia based solely on his magical abilities. Claudia, feeling the need to defend Lobelia, interjects. She expresses her trust in him, recounting how he saved her and the people of Akasa City from the oppressive reign of the king dragon. Claudia emphasizes that Lobelia has been her savior multiple times, and she firmly believes he is not at fault for the current situation. She reiterates that his actions have always been aimed at helping others, and he deserves their trust. The guards chime in, echoing Claudia's sentiments. They remind Reinhard that Lobelia is the one who saved the princess when she was in danger, as well as protecting the kingdom from threats. They stand united in their support for Lobelia, insisting that he is a good person who can be trusted. As the argument continues, Princess Lin steps forward, facing Reinhard directly. She pleads with him to see reason, insisting that he is aiming his sword at an innocent person. Her voice is steady, but filled with emotion, urging him to reconsider his actions. However, Reinhard remains unmoved. He dismisses their arguments, insisting that Lobelia is not innocent but rather an evil person. He believes that Lobelia will always be evil, and no amount of persuasion can change his mind. She shouts at him, frustrated that he hasn't listened to her at first. He has committed evil and terrible acts without evidence, yet refuses to admit that they are both wrong. Instead, he tries to justify himself, claiming he did it for his friend, though it is clear neither of them had asked him to. He acted on his own. Now, he appears as someone who has been rejected. Alicia kneels in front of Lobelia, who is also on his knees, pleading for him to survive. Lobelia seems to be giving up, his soul slowly slipping away. He feels conflicted, not wanting to die, yet dreading a bad ending to his life. Despite having saved others and earned admiration, he faces death in an unforgiving place. Lobelia needs to heal by any means necessary. Before anyone realizes it, Alicia, leaning forward, takes his hand, and they both disappear. They find themselves safe in another location, inside a cave, where Alicia begins to treat Lobelia's injuries. Alicia, who is female, is busy tending to Lobelia in the cave. She lights a fire and covers him to keep him from catching cold, sitting nearby to watch over him and protect him. By morning, when she wakes up and sees that Lobelia is no longer beside her, she becomes anxious and begins searching for him. Eventually, she finds him outside the cave, gathering firewood. After they return to the cave, Lobelia asks her how long he has been unconscious and where they are. She explains that she possesses a ring given to her by a magician and that the ring has two functions. One is teleportation, allowing travel to any place, and the other is illusion. She tells him that when they became separated during his fight with Reinhard, she was trying to heal him, unaware that the ring had caused them to be teleported to their current location. Alicia also shares that when they first arrived at the cave, she had to fend off and kill the orcs that had previously inhabited the area. She believes the orcs might return, which is why she stayed up all night to keep watch while Lobelia slept. Alicia sees Lobelia struggling to do hard work, trying to carry some stones in the cave. She tells him that, since he hasn't fully healed, he shouldn't strain himself and waste his strength, but instead rest so his wound can heal. She notices him looking at her in a certain way and feeling shy, says, "Stop looking at me like that." Alicia replies that they can leave once the storm outside stops. Hearing this, Lobelia goes outside. Lobelia reassures her, saying he is a gentleman, and because she is a woman, he wouldn't take advantage of her. Alicia then apologizes for bringing him to the cave, explaining that she hadn't known where the ring would take them. Lobelia tells her there is no need to apologize but asks when they might be able to return or leave the cave. Did a check and sees the storm for himself. Realizing the abnormal weather, he understands that they are on the Demon Continent, a place known for its extreme and unpredictable weather conditions. Alicia is shocked when he informs her of this discovery. Lobelia continues explaining that the Demon Continent was once known as the Spirit Continent. The conflict between the demons and the human race has been ongoing for about 400 years, leaving the land barren and its weather conditions abnormal. Despite this, the continent still harbors some of the strongest monsters. After putting on his shirt, Lobelia pulls out his compass, stating that if his memory serves him right, they are in the southern part of the Demon Continent. Alicia is frightened to hear this. Lobelia realizes that people will be searching for Alicia, especially since she is beloved by many. He tries to calm his mind, knowing that everyone has seen her hold his hand when they both disappeared. He reassures himself that no one will blame him for her sudden disappearance. Lobelia then tells Alicia that once the storm outside the cave subsides, they will need to leave. However, Alicia warns that the Demon Continent's harsh weather makes it unpredictable, and she suggests they wait a little longer, even after the storm ends, to ensure they don't get caught in another one. Lobelia, on the other hand, is concerned that if they don't return quickly, Reinhard might assume he has kidnapped Alicia again and come searching for them. He faces her and says that their next mission is to return her safely. Alicia is surprised by Lobelia's determination, feeling as though she has no say in his decision. She wants to speak up, but is too afraid. Alicia, being the main heroine of the game, walks alongside Lobelia for miles after leaving the cave that afternoon. She complains about the weather. The sunlight is harsh and the wind blows fiercely. Alicia asks Lobelia if he is resistant to heat, noting that despite their long trek and his incomplete healing, he hasn't complained once. She then shifts her question, asking why he and Reinhard are always at odds. She mentions that every time he appears before Reinhard, he seems angry, and she has often heard and seen them fighting. She wonders what good it does for either of them. Lobelia replies that she needn't worry anymore, as he plans to distance himself from everyone, including Reinhard, once he returns her safely to where they came from. After walking for a few more miles, they encounter large scorpions. While this doesn't surprise Lobelia, as he is aware of the strange animals and weather in the Demon Continent, Alicia is terrified at the sight. Alicia jumps in fear, but Lobelia swiftly uses fire magic to burn all the scorpions surrounding them, assuring her that there is no need to be afraid of such creatures. As they continue their journey, Lobelia notices that Alicia's pace is slowed, and she is breathing heavily. Sensing her fatigue, he asks if she is tired, but Alicia denies it, unwilling to appear weak. Although she tries to hide her exhaustion, Lobelia can tell she is struggling. Recognizing that her condition might worsen, Lobelia decides to pick her up and carry her. He believes it is better to help her now than risk her collapsing in the harsh environment of the desert-like Demon Continent. Alicia is surprised by this action, feeling uncertain about the appropriateness of being carried by someone she has only just met. However, Lobelia, focused on her well-being, carries her without hesitation, uninterested in any notions of propriety. Despite her earlier denial, Alicia has always been proud of her strength, often praised by others, particularly Reinhard. Lobelia asks Alicia if she had really defended him, to which she replies that she did not defend him directly, but rather Reinhard. She explains that her motivation was to prevent people from viewing Reinhard as a murderer, as he was unwilling to accept his mistakes. Lobelia finds it troubling that Alicia has gone to such lengths for someone who hasn't acknowledged that he caused the problem in the first place. He wonders if Reinhard truly deserves forgiveness. Alicia, without hesitation, affirms that Reinhard is a kind person and does indeed deserve to be forgiven. Lobelia, frustrated by her answer, considers Alicia's perspective to be misguided. He realizes that Alicia's flaw is her deep emotional attachment to Reinhard, that her feelings for him are so strong that she would do anything in his defense, even at the cost of her own reasoning. For Lobelia, it doesn't matter whether Alicia defended Reinhard or not. He is only concerned for her now because she is with him, and he has always cared for those around him. When Alicia asks why he always takes care of others, Lobelia explains that her death would be highly inconvenient for him. He wishes for her to live a long and fulfilling life, one that she likely envisions with her lover. Furthermore, if she were to die now, it would place him in an even more unfavorable position in the eyes of others. Reinhard and Alicia's love story began long before, when Reinhard, a knight wielding a holy sword, often ventured deep into the forest. During one of his explorations, he stumbled upon Alicia, who had been sealed in a shrine for 1,000 years. Moved by her plight, Reinhard broke the seal, unwittingly marking the beginning of their epic love story. Unbeknownst to him, Alicia held immense power within her, the ability to turn the world upside down and maintain its balance. If she were to lose this power, chaos and fear would reign. Though only a few are aware of Alicia's true abilities, the knowledge poses a danger to her. She is cautious around others, fearing that those who learn of her power might seek to misuse it. She needs protection at all costs. As Lobelia sits in contemplation, Alicia falls asleep beside him. Lobelia feels weary of always helping others and begins to think about his situation. Meanwhile, Alicia stirs awake, having misjudged Lobelia's intentions, suspecting he is drawn to her solely because of her power. In a moment of panic, Alicia decides to flee, running as fast as she can. Her heart pounds with fear, but to her dismay, no monsters appear to chase her. In her desperation, she fails to watch where she's going and, in a misstep, plummets into an ancient labyrinth hidden beneath the earth. The fall leaves her disoriented, and when she wakes, she realizes the only exit is the tall hole she has fallen through, making it impossible for her to escape on her own. Doubt begins to creep in as she wonders if running away from Lobelia was the right decision, but it's too late to turn back now. Frustration bubbles within her as she wanders aimlessly through the maze, crying out for Reinhard, hoping he will magically appear to rescue her, as he had done in the past. Her voice echoes through the labyrinth, and as she wipes her tears, a sudden noise catches her attention. A faint sound reverberates through the corridors, shaking her from her despair. She quickly springs to her feet, her heart racing as she scans the dark labyrinth around her. Meanwhile, Lobelia wakes to find Alicia missing from his side. Panic sets in for a moment as he studies the area around them. His gaze settles on the hole, and as he traces the footprints leading into the labyrinth, a feeling of recognition washes over him. These aren't the marks of an enemy or demon trying to deceive him, but of Alicia. With a deep breath, he realizes the labyrinth isn't a mere accident. Its master has lured her into its depths. Lobelia recalls the many battles he fought within the labyrinth in the game he played, defeating its master time and again. His resolve hardens as the memory of those past battles fuels his determination. He knows what he is to do: rescue Alicia and confront the labyrinth's master. His connection to her and the urgency of the situation leave him no room for hesitation. Without further thought, Lobelia leaps into the labyrinth, ready to face the dangers within and protect the woman he has come to care for. The twisting corridors of the labyrinth await him, but Lobelia is resolute in his mission. He will not let Alicia face this peril alone. As Lobelia enters the labyrinth, he is attacked midair before even reaching the ground. A horde of strange monsters and animals charges at him, forcing him to fight back with magic and his fists. He evades their attacks by flying around, calculating each of their moves with precision, just as he does in the game. Every strike and spell is carefully planned to anticipate the monsters' patterns, all to advance closer to the labyrinth's boss. After fending off the monsters and clearing a path, Lobelia hurries to where he believes the labyrinth's boss awaits. As he reaches the chamber entrance, he recalls it vividly, just like in the game. He pauses briefly, his eyes fixed on the door, then pushes it open. Inside, the labyrinth's master, a formless, grotesque creature, awaits, holding Alicia captive in one of its many coiled arms. Alicia cries out for help, her body suspended in the air as the creature prepares to devour her. Without hesitation, Lobelia unleashes a powerful magic slash, severing the arm restraining her. As Alicia tumbles to the ground, Lobelia catches her in his arms just before she can hit the floor. With her momentarily safe, he casts a thunder spell, sending a bolt of lightning crashing down on the creature, briefly stunning it. Alicia rises, visibly shaken and filled with regret. She bows her head, her voice trembling as she apologizes for running away from him. Lobelia, however, remains focused on the battle. He assures her they will talk later, but insists they must first defeat the labyrinth's master. The monster, far from defeated, rears up as its amorphous body begins to regenerate. Lobelia knows this fight will not be easy. Summoning a barrage of magical weapons, swords, spears, and axes, he launches them at the creature. Despite landing repeated hits, he quickly realizes the damage is minimal and the battle is far from over. After an intense battle, Lobelia triumphs over the S-rank monster. This creature, having evolved over time, possesses the ability to resist damage and regenerate its strength, making it a nearly invincible foe. However, Lobelia's experience and skill allow him to exploit its weaknesses, ultimately delivering the final blow. As the monster collapses, exhaustion overtakes him. Every ounce of energy has been drained from his body during the grueling fight, leaving him too weak to stand. Alicia instinctively reaches out, grasping his hand to steady him as they begin their journey out of the labyrinth. Once they emerge from the labyrinth's shadowy depths, the weight of their ordeal sets in. Alicia looks at him, her expression heavy with concern and remorse. She sincerely apologizes, explaining that she never intended to drag him into such a perilous situation. The fear that once kept her from trusting others begins to dissipate, and she realizes that Lobelia is different from anyone she has known. He proves to be someone who neither takes advantage of others nor abandons them, even when faced with a monster of overwhelming power. Lobelia reassures her, insisting it is his priority to escort her home safely for now. As they walk, Alicia lowers her head, her voice soft but full of gratitude as she thanks him for saving her life. However, he quickly interrupts, asking her not to treat him with such formality. As they continue along the path, Lobelia turns to Alicia and mentions his plan to make a detour to a nearby town called Arcadia. Alicia's eyes widen in recognition. She knows the place well. Arcadia, governed by Reinhard and his heroic knights, is situated on the northwest coast and serves as a refuge for those caught in the relentless conflict between humans and demons. Lobelia, however, recalls the town's grim reality. Arcadia struggles under dire circumstances, plagued by poverty worsened by the harsh weather conditions of the demon continent. He believes the heroic knights have failed in their duty to care for the people and feels compelled to offer his help where he can. As they approach the entrance of Arcadia, the sight of towering baboon trees forming the gate greets them. These iconic structures, once symbols of the town's prosperity, now evoke mixed feelings. Alicia gazes at them in awe, but a sense of unease creeps over her as they search for an opening. Suddenly, arrows rain down around them, and the shouts of guards demand their attention. Lobelia quickly responds, his voice tinged with urgency, claiming that he and his partner, Alicia, have lost their home and are seeking refuge. The declaration catches Alicia off guard, and she turns to him, eyes wide in surprise. Lobelia subtly gestures for her to play along, knowing from experience that the guards only grant entry to refugees or war victims. Realizing his intent, Alicia quickly adds to the story, describing their desperation and lack of anywhere else to go. A tense moment follows before one of the guards, evidently a higher-ranking officer, orders the others to lower their arrows. He gestures for them to enter and escorts them into the town. Once inside, the harsh reality of Arcadia becomes painfully clear. Alicia is shocked by the dire state of the town. People lie scattered on the streets, many barely clothed, their faces gaunt with hunger. The air is heavy with despair. Alicia turns to Lobelia, her voice filled with disbelief, questioning whether Reinhard is even aware of the suffering here. She observes that some humans still regard Arcadia with contempt, as it shelters demons, beings many consider humanity's greatest enemies. The guard who leads them into Arcadia notices their exhaustion and offers them food. Lobelia and Alicia accept it with gratitude, relieved to have a moment of comfort. Alicia savors the meal, her delight evident as she enjoys the taste and aroma. It has been a long time since she's eaten anything so satisfying. As she eats, she notices 3 children watching them from a distance, their thin frames and hungry eyes fixed on the food. She nudges Lobelia, silently urging him to share. Lobelia notices the children, a gaunt trio consisting of an older boy and 2 younger ones. Moved by their plight, he divides the food between them and the children, who accept it eagerly, their joy lighting up their faces. The oldest introduces himself as Rue and explains that food supplies to Arcadia stopped 3 months ago. His pointed ears hint at his mixed heritage, intriguing Lobelia. The younger children introduce themselves as Ars and Jessica, expressing their gratitude. As Lobelia observes the children, he considers the dire situation they face. The town is in disarray, its people struggling to survive. The children's resentment toward Reinhard and his knights reflects the disillusionment of the townsfolk, who feel abandoned by their leaders. The weight of their frustration lingers in the air, echoing the grim reality of Arcadia. Determined to make a difference, Lobelia focuses on the children and the others gathered around him. Helping them navigate their harsh environment becomes his priority. The small group listens intently as he outlines his intentions, their expressions shifting from hopelessness to cautious optimism. Even Alicia, though hesitant at first, seems drawn to his determination. As the day gives way to evening, Lobelia entrusts the group to Alicia's care, knowing she can guide them while he tends to other responsibilities. He sets out to patrol the area, his thoughts heavy with the hardships he has witnessed. The villagers' willingness to share their limited resources with strangers touches him deeply, and he resolves to repay their kindness in any way he can. While patrolling the forest, Lobelia spots a large wild pig moving through the trees. Recognizing the opportunity to provide for the villagers, he silently summons magical arrows. With practiced precision, he fires, bringing the animal down instantly. As he begins carving a portion of the meat to take back, a sudden, chilling laugh pierces the stillness of the forest. Startled, Lobelia turns, his senses on high alert. Emerging from the shadows is a figure he never expected to see again, King Boros, the Dragon King, thought to have been defeated in their last encounter. Lobelia immediately conjures his annihilation spear upon seeing King Boros. The king quickly tells him that he has no intention of being hostile and asks Lobelia to put away the spear. Lobelia questions why King Boros is still alive, and the king explains that it was Lobelia's fictional Hell's Game that gave him a choice: either swear loyalty to Lobelia and serve him for the rest of his life, or become part of the abominations that lurk within. King Boros made his decision, choosing to serve Lobelia. However, Lobelia doesn't fully trust him, suspecting that King Boros might betray him later. King Boros immediately denies this, insisting that he won't stab Lobelia in the back. As a member of the dragon race, he explains that they have a rule to follow the stronger one, and he feels naturally drawn to Lobelia. He promises to be of use. It turns out that the mighty King Boros is now carrying a huge boar. He tells Lobelia that, since the meat is for the people of Arcadia, he will help transport it to Lobelia's place at the town entrance without being noticed. He reassures Lobelia that he doesn't need to worry, as he will return to the spellbook afterward. Lobelia thinks that King Boros might be useful and plans to use him until the right time comes. The people of Arcadia are shocked when they see the huge boar. One of the hunters hopes that Lobelia can join them and guide them in hunting the bone eaters. Alicia asks if she can tag along as well since Lobelia has taught her some offensive magic during their journey, and she wants to help in any way she can. Lobelia agrees to her request. They decide to set out for the hunt in 5 days to gather more supplies. 5 days later, they're seen hunting monsters, but Lobelia feels that something is strange. He recalls that the Bone Eater Valley is supposed to have only a few low-level monsters, but he wonders if the defeat of the fiend Gorgros has stirred up the surrounding monsters. Suddenly, a monster sneaks up and attacks one of the hunters. The group realizes that a horde of monsters is coming from the east. Lobelia orders everyone to fall back while he covers their retreat. In the chaos, the hunter who is attacked dies, and Alicia is filled with rage and frustration when she realizes that her healing magic is not working. Overcome with emotion, she kills the monsters in a furious rage. Afterward, she breaks down in tears. Lobelia tries to comfort her, but Alicia feels that instead of protecting others, she is being protected. She wonders if things continue this way, she won't be able to face the rest of the Night Order. In tears, Alicia asks Lobelia what she must do to become someone who can protect others.